I welcome you all to daily newspaper analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 27th of August 2024. Now before getting into the list of news articles, I have an important announcement for you. From today onwards, we are posting two videos. One video exclusively for prelims and the other video exclusively for mains. You can download the PDF for both the videos through the link provided in the description. This link will redirect you to IAS Parliament website, and from IAS Parliament website you can download the PDF for both the videos. So this is what the announcement is about. Now we shall see the list of articles for today's discussion. We are going to discuss these three articles from the prelims perspective. We have also attached prelims practice question to check your understanding. So without much delay, let us get into the news article discussion. Now look at this article about Manipur violence. The news is that the center is yet to list violations of ground rules by Kuki-Zo group. So this is what the article is talking about. See, PVTGs or indigenous tribal groups in India, they are the most vulnerable and the most marginalized group amongst the tribal groups itself. So they are tribes and they are the most vulnerable and marginalized among the tribes itself. So that is why the title particularly vulnerable tribal groups or PVTGs. So this means that they require very special attention and protection, and they account for about 8.6% of India's total population. Now let us see how this term PVTG itself got evolved. See, this was first mentioned in 1973 by the Debar Commission. They introduced the term Primitive Tribal Group or PTG for less developed tribes. This PTG group, they have certain criteria to be identified. The first thing is pre-agricultural technology. Second is low literacy, third is economic backwardness, and the fourth one is declining or stagnant population. So the tribes who satisfy all the categories will be categorized as the PTGs. In 2006 only, this PTG has got renamed to PVTGs. Now let us see how many PVTGs have been identified so far. Say in 1975, during the initial identification, only 52 PVTGs were identified. Later, 23 groups were added in 1993. So currently, there are 75 out of 705 STs, and Odisha has the highest number of PVTGs. Now we shall quickly go through the challenges faced by PVTGs one by one. See, the first important issue they face is the healthcare. They lack healthcare infrastructure, and because of this they have high mortality rate as well. Usually tribes are affected by sickle cell anemia. They are not aware of that, and when it comes to PVTGs, they are still disconnected from getting awareness. This is as per the ZAXA report submitted in 2014. This ZAXA committee is a high level committee that was set up to analyze the present situation of the PVTGs. The second important issue is malnutrition. They face malnutrition because of food insecurity. This is as per the Ministry of Tribal Affairs report 2018, and they also face displacement and land alienation issues. This happens mainly due to development projects like building of a dam or the announcement of protected area. Due to this, they also lose livelihood which they have been following for a number of years. A very good example for this is displacement of the Dongri Kond tribe in Odisha. Apart from this, they also face educational backwardness. They have higher dropout rate and they absent because of their illness. Due to this, they are educationally backward, and they also face social exclusion due to discrimination. The government is also facing issues with providing direct access to schemes. Many welfare schemes could not be implemented in PVTG areas due to their remote location and social isolation. So this is as per Tribal Affairs Annual Report 2019-20. Apart from this, they face cultural erosion. See, when they displace from their own locality, obviously their traditional practices will erode. The ZAXA report has emphasized the need to protect and promote the cultural heritage of PVTGs like the Zarwas in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So they face cultural erosion as well. And as I said earlier, they also face livelihood opportunities when they displace to another area. Due to poverty, they have to depend highly on government aid. For example, the Tribal Affairs highlight the inadequate implementation of skill development program in PVTG area. This is affecting the tribes like Birhars in Jharkhand. So these were all the challenges faced by the PVTGs. Now we shall see certain schemes that were implemented to improve their education and healthcare. The first thing is Ashram School. See, this is kind of a residential school where the students, they reside in the school and they get trained or educated. The second important initiative is the Ekalavya Model Residential School. Here, education for 6 to 12 will be provided. Apart from this, pre-metric and post-metric scholarship has been provided to the PVTG students. Then when it comes to healthcare, there are mobile health units. They were set up in the remote areas to provide the accessibility to healthcare. Secondly, there is a tribal health plan, which is a comprehensive healthcare initiative that focuses on all the malnutrition, accessibility, availability issues. Finally, the ASHA workers, they are the community health workers for PVTGs. They take care of the food security and malnutrition issue prevailing in the region. Apart from this, they have certain land and forest rights. For example, the first important thing is the Forest Rights Act, FRA 2006. This act recognizes and provides forest right to the forest dwellers. Secondly, the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Rules 2007. This act recognizes and grants forest rights and occupation to forest dwelling scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers. Then there is Special Central Assistance, SCA, to tribal subscheme. See, under this scheme, they will provide financial aid to states for the socio-economic development of PVTGs. And finally, there is Van Bandhu Kalyan Yojana. It is an initiative of Tribal Affairs Ministry. It focuses on integrated development of villages and capacity building through interventions in education and livelihood in convergence. So these are all the facts that you have to remember about PVTGs from the prelims perspective. So far we saw who are all PVTGs, how they are identified. Then we saw how this term itself got evolved. We saw certain challenges faced by them, and then we saw some of the legal measures that have been taken to solve the challenges. So now let us see a prelims practice question. Here this question is a previous year question. 4 statements are given and you have to find which of the statements given here is or are correct. See here, the correct answer for the question is option C, 1, 2 and 4 only. So with these points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this news article. The news is that in the financial year 2025, for the first 4 months, India has seen a significant improvement in LNG import. Here LNG is nothing but liquefied natural gas. We can quote 2 important reasons for this increase in LNG import. The first thing is the decline in price of global LNG, and secondly the increase in rise of demand for LNG in local market in India. So we can quote these 2 factors as the main reason for the increase in import of LNG in India. So this is what the article is talking about. So in this news article discussion, let us revise about LPG, LNG, what is CNG and what is hcng from the prelims perspective. So let's first start with the LPG. So LPG is nothing but liquefied petroleum gas. It is mainly composed of propane and butane. It is usually stored in liquid form under moderate pressure, and it is used as a cooking fuel. Then it is used in heating appliances and vehicles. See, usually it is stored in the liquid form, and when they are used as cooking fuel, it will be vaporized and turned into gaseous form. But the issue here is the emission will be very high with respect to the LPG. And remember, they have higher energy density than CNG and LNG. So this means that with lesser amount of LPG, we can get higher energy as output. So this is what the higher energy density actually mean. LPG is cleaner than coal and oil, but they emit more CO2 than CNG and hcng. So these are all the facts that you have to remember about LPG. When we talk about the schemes that are relevant to LPG, we have Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, PMUJ. Under the scheme, LPG connections are provided to women from below poverty line households. Secondly, the PAHL, it is a direct benefit transfer for LPGs. See, usually the cylinders that we are buying, especially for the below poverty line, a subsidy is provided through direct benefit transfer, and this is what the PAHL scheme is about. Now we shall move on to the LNG, that is the liquefied natural gas. See, it is mainly composed of methane and it is stored as liquefied form at minus 162 degrees Celsius. See, it is mainly used for power generation, heating, fuel for ships and heavy vehicles. When we talk about energy density, it has higher energy density when compared to the CNG, but it requires a specialized storage. When we talk about the environmental impact, it burns clearer than coal and oil. When we talk about the schemes related to it, we have LNG import terminal. Here the terminals will be set up to increase the availability of natural gas. Moving on to CNG, that is the compressed natural gas. It is mainly composed of methane and it is stored in gaseous form at high pressure. See, it can be used as vehicle fuel, and especially for the public transportation we can use CNG. It has lower energy density than LPG and LNG, which means we require a lot of compressed natural gas to produce the required energy need. So this is a constraint to it as well, but it is environment friendly, that is, it produces very less CO2 and the pollutants, and it is cleaner than gasoline and diesel. Talking about the schemes, we have City Gas Distribution CGD network. It is a network of CNG station in urban areas. This promotes the use of CNG. Then we have the FAME India scheme. It promotes adoption of electronic and hybrid vehicles. Under hybrid vehicles, CNG is prioritized as a fuel for the hybrid vehicles. Then moving on to the hydrogen compressed natural gas, it is nothing but a blend of CNG and hydrogen. It is stored under high pressure like CNG, and it can be used as a vehicle fuel, and it can potentially reduce the emission of CO2. It has energy content similar to CNG, but it has improved combustion efficiency. It emits very less CO2 and NOx than CNG. Talking about the schemes, we have National Hydrogen Energy Mission. This scheme focuses on scaling up the production and utilization of hydrogen as a clean energy source. So far we saw about LPG, LNG, CNG and hcng. Now let us see what are all the key difference between all the four. See, when we talk about the energy density, we have LPG as the highest, then comes the LNG, and the CNG and hcng, they have similar energy density. When we talk about storage, LNG we have to store in the cryogenic storage, CNG and hcng we have to store it in high pressured storage, and the LPG we require a moderate pressure to store. Here the LPG is actually a byproduct of oil refining, except that all other are natural gases. When we talk about environmental impact, hcng has the highest cleanliness when compared to CNG and LPG. Know that LNG is cleaner than coal and oil, but it requires special handling. So these are all the facts that you have to remember about LPG, LNG, CNG and hcng. Now let us solve a prelims practice question. Which of the following statements correctly distinguish between LPG, LNG, CNG and hcng in the context of their application? Here the application is asked. So the correct answer here is option C. So with these points, now let us move on to the next news article. Look at this news article about US-India agreements. We have signed 2 new agreements with US. The first one is known as the Security of Supply Arrangement SOSA, and the second agreement is Memorandum of Agreement regarding the assessment of liaison officers. So this is what the news is about. So in this news article discussion, let us see about the features of these agreements, and then we shall quickly go through India and US defense cooperation from the prelims perspective. So let's start with the features of the 2 new agreement. See, this SOSA, it is a reciprocal defense support through industrial resources acquisition, and it is a non-binding agreement, meaning both the countries will provide reciprocal support to each other's defense forces, and they will be sharing the critical industrial resources as well. So this is what the SOSA agreement is about. Then the second agreement, it actually formalizes officer exchange for enhanced cooperation. So both the countries, India and US, they will be sharing their officers to other countries' military command. This will enhance the interoperability and cooperation between the 2 countries' military commands. So this is what the 2 new agreements is about. Now let us see various notable defense initiatives that were in the previous years. For example, in 2013, India signed a declaration on defense cooperation. Then in 2015, they signed framework for the US-India defense relationship. Both the agreements, they laid a groundwork for increased defense collaboration. Then the third important agreement is INDUS-X. It is a joint defense technology development and innovation ecosystem. An innovation ecosystem between the 2 countries. Here, they will be co-developing defense technologies, and they bring innovation in the particular field. So this is what INDUS-X actually about. So talking about the defense cooperation, now let us see some of the challenges in Indo-US relationship. See, the first important thing is countering China's influence. US is trying to have a stronger military alliance in Indo-Pacific, but India is cautious and very diplomatic in its approach when it comes to reducing or countering the China's influence in the region. For example, US has a tie with Pakistan to counter China's influence, but this actually concerns India due to the evolving tension in the border region. And again, India is having cooperation with Russia to enhance its own defense sector. However, having ties with Russia is seen as a concern by US. For example, USA has a policy called CATSA. CATSA can be expanded as countering America's adversaries through Sanction Act. So under this act, US can impose sanction on any country who has ties with America's adversaries. So in that line, India might attract a sanction from US due to its defense purchases from Russia, especially the S-400 missile. Apart from this, US also has certain human rights concern, especially over the religious freedom, then the Kashmir issue and the treatment of minorities. And India also has a concern over immigration and visa policies. Recently, the US has changed its immigration policy, including H-1B visa restrictions. This is actually impacting the Indian professionals to take up job in US. Apart from this, there are certain socio-cultural challenges. As you all know, the Indian diaspora is the second largest in the US. It is a very significant factor in the US-India relationship, but it is also a challenge like managing dual loyalty and differing perspective on bilateral issues and etc. Apart from this, there are societal differences, especially differences in societal norms and values like attitude towards LGBTQ plus rights and religious freedoms. These are leading to occasional friction between both the countries. So these are all very important facts that you have to remember about India-US defense relation as well as bilateral tie. Having seen that, let us solve a MCQ regarding the topic. Here only two statements are given and you have to find which of the statement given here is or are correct. Here the question is talking about Artemis Accord and the correct answer for this particular question is option D, neither one nor two. So with this, we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now, thank you so much for listening.